Hey guys, what up? Total Control 871 chiming in today with today's economic report that was on our news. We saw President Trump giving his report on the South Lawn of the White House, touting 4.1% GDP growth. Well, bully for him. To be fair, though, to President Trump and, the conservative right, it is my observation that even the liberal left, specifically the liberal elite left, when they talk about these numbers and the economy, they're not talking about people like me. If you're making like under $30,000 a year, they're not talking about you at all. It could even be argued at 40,000 they're not talking about you. Example, who remembers Barack Obama's Lilly Ledbetter bill, equal pay for women? Okay, well that's Jim Dandy, but I don't think I've ever, in my 28 years of hard work, I don't think I've ever encountered a woman that got hired at less than me. It was always socialized. Even when it was, like a buck above minimum wage, there really wasn't any kind of a discussion over your job skills. I mean, they kind of went over your resume and your job application, but you were perceived and seen as the exact same thing. They understood that they were probably going to get some that were better than others and things like that, but when you're so small and so insignificant to these wealthy corporations, you're seen as nothing. I did a little thinking today as to what would be a really good analogy for this. For my Star Trek fans, it's very much indeed like an away mission on a Borg cube. I don't know who out there watched Star Trek or not, Next Generation. A small handful of people could beam aboard the Borg cube, and it might even find you as surprising that they could beam aboard, that their shields wouldn't block that. But the point is that you were perceived as being so inconsequential, so insignificant, that you're not worth the energy swatting away. Anyway, that's definitely how these mega corporations perceive we, the little people. We're so tiny, we're so inconsequential, we're not worth the energy of finding out our skill set, what we have and what we don't have. I'll give you another real life example. And before you guys start saying, oh God, here he goes talking about his tragic, tortured life again. Well, that's what I do. That's what this channel is about. You're never going to find me rattling off, well, not too much anyway, surveys, what this says. You see, even have, whether it's conservative or liberal, your Sean Hannitys and your Anderson Coopers, they're both very wealthy men. You dig what I'm saying, okay? They don't come from the point of the proletariat, okay? They're very wealthy people. And therefore, by default, they rely on numbers, They're disconnected from the people. You might show me footage of Anderson Cooper in the war zone with the little minority of Somalians or wherever the fuck he's at, It doesn't really make a difference, because at the end of the day, all Anderson Cooper has to do, very much indeed like our Bruce Wayne in Batman Begins, at any given time, he could have easily simply made contact with his wealth and exited that situation. Okay? I don't get to exit my situation. Anyway, I'll give you a prime example of how we, the proletariat, are just simply you're just simply consumed by the dozen, you know, like just gobbled up. You're not even taken into consideration individually. My last job, security, at an electric company. I didn't work for the electric company. It was contract security work, so that's pretty messed up in and of itself. Meaning the electric company probably paid something like maybe $25 or $30 an hour per security guard, per security guard. Now that's what the corporation got. That's what shit, what the fuck was it called? That's what the security, that, don't ask me why, but the name is escaped, because I've worked for a few of these contract securities. Admiral, there you go. Admiral Security. And so that's what Admiral Security got paid. But what Admiral Security paid us, the actual security guards, well, it's a very different thing. We got $10.50 an hour. And that's all of us. Didn't make a difference what your skill set was. Didn't make a difference what your experience was. You know, when you sat down at your interview, it's already determined how much money, you know, if they want to hire you, how much you're going to be making. You're going to get hired at the same thing as everybody else. Like I say, I at least gave Walmart their kudos. They at least offered a merit raise, an incentive raise for proving for your work performance. Okay, if your work performance could be quantified like mine's was, they at least gave you something. Feather in their cap. Kudos to Walmart. Not saying that they ever paid a living wage, but at least they did that. So I get hired in, $10.50 that everybody else gets hired in, and that everybody else is currently making. And mind you, there were some people who've been there for years. Your wage is socialized very much indeed like a union. So they don't, everybody makes the same thing. Even somebody that's been there for 10 years, you all make the same thing. But mind you, this is Admiral Security's way of getting the benefits of the socialism, but they of a union, but they don't want to have to deal with the collective bargaining of a union, the demands of a union. You dig what I'm saying? So, and I get hired in, and I begin to learn a few things. Now, for the purposes of this blog, we're going to call her Tammy. I'll call her Tammy. Tammy was definitely primo in the concierge department, so to speak. She was incredible. She knew everybody's extension, you know, in this entire facility. She knew everybody because she worked there for so damn long. She knew everything. All you had to, you know, if you needed to schedule an event to reserve a meeting room, you know, so she knew everybody's schedule, and she was extremely good like that. Also, the mail slots, like in the mail rooms of an office building, where they got all those giant cubby holes, you know, so she just like, I mean, like a dealer at a casino, she just throwing the mail in like crazy. She knows where everybody's everything is at. Okay, so she can expedite this very quickly, you know, so she's extremely good at her job like that. Nevertheless, I, fresh-faced newbie, got hired in at the exact same rate of pay that she has. Exact same. Didn't make a difference. That's how little the job thought of her. Okay? Now remember, they're based in Bethesda, Maryland. Very conservative, tax-friendly state, okay? Now, these are the people that tout a lot of Republican ideology of hard work, termination, you know? You don't need welfare systems and things like that, But you're making it very clear that you have no intention whatsoever of paying a person what they're worth. I'll continue on with my real-life comparative analogy. So as I'm working there, getting settled in, well, my talents began to bubble to the surface. Talents that were really never discussed during my interview. Nobody really gave a shit. Nobody cared. Only thing they really wanted to know is, will you be on time? Because that's the big thing about contract security. A call out is much more than just simply a call out, okay? It's literally a breach of contract. You're contracted to have a security guard here 24 hours a day, 24/7, okay? You're in breach of your contract, which can be a very serious thing, which could even result in, like, you know, massive amounts of refunded money, you know, for their contract. And of course, Admiral Security, they don't want to hear that shit. So as I'm getting settled in, one of the things that the company's Admiral Security I'm talking about is noticing about me is that I'm very well, I'm very punctual, that's for sure, but that I'm also very eager and hungry to pick up extra shifts. They like that because, like I say, persons like myself de-escalate their anxiety over a contract breach. That plus the fact that I was renting a room very close by. You know, it was like 4 miles away or something like, no, 2 miles. 2 miles away is like a 4-mile round trip commute by bicycle. Nothing, you know, it's nothing. And they love that shit. The job was coming together pretty good. I was commuting by bike. I lost 80 pounds. They had showers at the job. Oh, woo! Oh man, it was awesome. And I used to have what I call Trailer Tuesdays, where I'd use the trailer to load up the trailer with work uniforms. Just a week's worth of work uniforms. Like 7 days, even though I'm only scheduled for 5, but because I work so much overtime, you know. And then I use the trailer to basically just stock the security closet with all my uniforms and stuff like that. It even got so bad I would even bring, like, you know, oh my god, like 8 2-liters of my precious Diet Dew. Anyway, let me get to my point here. My talents began to bubble to the surface. They had they had pressure leaks in their wet system. Like I said before, I'm a certified fire command officer. You people, if you don't know about such things, you may have seen what's called a pull station. Those are those little red things that you pull. It's a fire alarm, you know. We call them, it's a pull station to activate the fire alarm should there be, you know, a severe fire. You might see that part of the fire suppression system, but unbeknownst to you and the trained eye, you know, the fire suppression system, it's all throughout the entire building. Inside of a building, it's called a wet system. That means that the lines are charged usually to about 130 psi. Some systems are maybe 140, 135, 120, something like that. But you have different, they're usually charged to about 130 psi. They have things called sprinkler apparatus, usually in the stairwells of thing. Anyway, the point is that so there's a pressure leak, and the system it's fully automated, and it'll go to recharge, reprime the lines. You know, it's inside of, like I said, drop ceiling. You don't see any of this shit. You might see these little coasters, these little plastic coasters that will in the ceiling, and you might not know what they are, but should a fire happen, the cap pops off, the sprinkler head comes down, and there you go, you got your sprinkler. Every now and then the sprinkler head will have a tiny little leak, and I mean tiny, so tiny that it might not even result in a drip. It'll just simply, the drop ceiling will absorb the water as it tiny leaks, which is why you have water stains in some drop ceilings. And then sometimes you won't even see the water leak there. Point is, God, I'm so off topic and shit. So pressure loss, the system activates, because anytime water moves through the lines, it'll, in the sprinkler apparatus, you got your flow paddle. It's like a plunger inside of your toilet. You know, when water moves to charge the line, it'll push the plunger and stuff like that. So, and next to the security station, the desk where I was stationed there is what's called a transponder. Now, of course, Tammy didn't know anything. She knew it was there. She showed me the key for it, and that's all she had to do at that point, because I already know. Not only did I know what she knew, but I knew even more. It's called a transponder. It's how the system, the sprinkler, the system is remotely accessed and controlled. And it'll also give you information as for where the problems are at. So, incident happens, I go over to the transponder, I see, you know, where it's located at. I check the building schematic maps as to where that would be at. I go there, and I verify that, number one, there is not a fire. That's very good. And that the system, I saw the pressure gauge. It had dropped down to like 110 or some shit like that, 120. And I knew that the system just simply, it was recharging itself. It was repriming the lines. Now, I'm just a security guard there. I'm not in their fire command center. So I didn't have a way of neutralizing the signal that goes out to Hamilton Township Fire Department. So in each of these instances, the fire department would always respond. And long story short, God, I'm terrible at this shit. After the whole thing, and they get the whole thing sorted out, they hear me speaking to the battalion chief as to what the problem was, and it began to shock the shit out of them, talking about the $30-some an hour guys in the back that work for the electric company, that work in their fire command center, okay, that monitor such thing. They're shook. They're completely, their jaws on the ground when they hear me speaking all the things that they know, and they understand how little money I make, okay? And after, in the following nights, one by one, they'd kind of like take turns, because mind you, they never paid me any attention before, you know, but they just kind of take turns to come out to see, who is this guy? You know, how do you know about this stuff? How do you? And, you know, what's even sad is that, you know, I got my command training at a casino where, quite frankly, I made even less money than $10.50. I made, was it $8.50 or $8.25? Pittance. Pennies. Chicken feed. I was paid to learn this skill set. Okay? You don't even want to know. It's even more diabolical inside of a casino. I can't really speak for Vegas, okay? I can't speak for any of them, but I can definitely speak for East Coast casinos. There is a reason why very rarely do you ever see police cars out in front of the casino in the porte cochere. You might see the occasional ambulance when some old geezer tried to eat everything in the buffet, their way of exacting revenge for losing all their money, I guess. But anyway, you might see that occasionally, but very, very rarely do you ever see a police car. And the reason why is that casinos train their security to handle everything in-house. If you see a police car responding to a casino, that means some serious shit has happened. Serious shit has happened. It's how I got a lot of my training. It's how I'm able to fucking deal with these bullshit police, you know. I was trained to do UCRs, Uniform Crime Reports. It's the exact same computer format that they use in a police department. So you learn how fucked up it is that you're being taught to do all of these things that police and these union workers, middle-class white men jobs, okay, they're paid incredible amounts of money for. But because where I worked, it was predominantly minority, but you're seen as nothing, as chicken feed. You don't count, you don't matter. You're nothing more than the fucking away team on side of a Borg, inside of a Borg cube, inside of their ship. We won't even take time to even address you, okay? You matter nothing. And of course, the reality is we are very much indeed very critical, very pivotal to these corporations' success, especially the security in the casinos and whatnot. You don't even want to know how we were trained to talk to people. Like I say, how do you think I was able to speak to those state police investigators using very carefully chosen language? That's how we were trained. If there's been an injury, again, security is the one that responds, not the police. You know, we have a doctor. We hire the doctor. You know, everything is in-house. You know, unless you're requesting an ambulance to go somewhere, we'll treat everything in-house. Where the Borg casino controls everything. You dig what I'm saying? Okay, and we are trained, you know. I've seen, it's fucked up how they teach us to do. You sit there with the person, either the injured or the ill. You sympathize, empathize. You get them to start talking about your medical history, and this is so fucking easy, especially when they are old people. Old people love talking about all the shit that's wrong with them, and what they don't understand is that we are case building. We're building a case how the casino is completely faultless and everything that's fucked up with you is pre-existing. What we are doing is an invaluable service to the casino. We are fucking Captain America's shield. We are Wonder Woman's bulletproof bracelets. We are there to deflect all the fucking bullshit lawsuits. We're the first line of defense against the lawsuits. Okay, I mean, seriously, the lawyers and the paralegals, they send down commands to security as to what to do, what to say, how to say. It's why we never in our reports write that somebody is drunk, even though they can be fucking hammered to the motherfucking max. You never say they're drunk, you never say they're high. Unless you are performing, unless you're a blood test, so you don't. And the reason why I say all this is because it saves the corporations incredible amounts of money. Nevertheless, this is never reciprocated. And we hear so often that, I'm hitting like 20-some minutes now. We hear so often that, because I'm bringing it back to Donald Trump now and his bullshit report. Because like I said, I don't care about your fucking numbers, Trump. I really fucking don't. Because your numbers don't reflect me. They don't speak to me, and they don't reflect me, okay? All they do is reflect very, very wealthy people, okay? They reflect businesses, and they reflect the employees of businesses that earn so much money that they have houses, they got cars, and their kids are doing fucking fantastic. Okay? I mean, I sat there myself and I talked about how the farmers are getting slammed, but let us never fucking forget. We're talking about farmers that have millions of dollars in farm equipment. Tens of millions. These are not poor people by any measure. Okay? When I get on my bike and I ride through these neighborhoods, homes, cars, your GDP doesn't speak to me. It doesn't include me. I am nothing. I'm not even taken into account. Okay? So like I say, you might be talking about what our economy is worth, but you're not talking about what the individual is worth. Okay? I mean, you can say whatever you want about the fast food worker, But don't you ever fucking forget, we fast food workers, we created an industry that is a self-sustaining juggernaut of infinite money. Okay? I hear it all the time in the McDonald's video. I'm never eating there again. You're welcome to do that, but who are we kidding? Okay? If Cheryl, our manager, was caught taking a shit in the open vat fryer, that McDonald's would still make money. That's the kind of self-sustaining energy that all of these fast food places have. Continuity. Dare I even say food addiction? Okay? So, your GDP doesn't take me into account. They don't take a lot of people into account. You know, I'll finish with this. I remember in the early 90s, just to drive home, how even our liberal elite are so out of touch with the everyday man. Below everyday man, you know, below average. The proletariat, the people who earn their money 1 hour at the time. And let's not even talk about the homeless like me. Early 90s. Oprah Winfrey had some guest on talking about investments. I don't know if it was Susie Orman or not, but whatever. Anyway, Oprah goes to, because I think the guest was saying something about for an investment of $10,000, yada yada, and they go into their whole spiel. And after Oprah listens, she's like, oh yeah, well that's an attainable goal. And she wasn't being sarcastic when she said this. Oprah was not being sarcastic. That's an attainable goal. Most people can get $10,000 together. Oprah caught some shit over that remark too, you know. Things weren't quite the way they are now, where every little thing just flies off the handle, but, you know, everybody can get $10,000 together. Oprah, I know you say in your autobiography, have you done autobiography? I don't fucking know, but in your fucking story, there's the whole poverty beginnings. However you started out, you damn sure aren't there now, and you have definitely lost touch with it. Okay? You have lost touch with the little man long ago. Alright? You know, while I'm talking about Oprah Winfrey, I'll never forget, when she paid Ellen DeGeneres' talk show a visit, you could kind of feel how Ellen had like this format of how, because Oprah was going to be like the last guest, and fucking Oprah just kind of like gets up in the middle of it and is like, oh yeah, we'll just come out here and we'll see our dogs. And it's like, she just kind of like, it's like, can't you tell Ellen is trying to like do something? She's trying to, and it's like the show just kind of ends, you know, just kind of, you know, she doesn't even like close out the show and say goodbye to people, you know, Ellen, because she was like, Oprah just simply is, she has definitely gone to believe her own press a long time ago. So elite, so wealthy. All right, I don't know if I have succeeded in conveying my sentiments here, but you know, the poor people, we're not paid what we are worth. We're seen as being worth less. We are seen as light bulbs. We're seen as fuses. When one burns out, just screw in another. We're seen as nothing more than a stack of applications, when applications were paper. But you get my point. We're taken completely for granted. And nobody seems to care. And of course, our middle class and upper middle class, predominantly white, they're right there to chime in with so many Republicans saying that we people are lazy. We people, they cast their judgments. That is until their own bread and butter become directly threatened. Directly threatened. I suppose at the end of the day, there's a robot or something that'll take everybody's job. Alright guys, that's it. Total Control 871.